DAW Nation, welcome to this week's episode of In the DAW with Pixel Terror breaking down their song Ultima. In this episode, you're going to learn about using vocals from Splice to write an entire track, a secret sound design trick with the EQ-3, vocal processing. We're going to talk about the best De-Essing plugins and post-processing sound design. And finally, this episode is sponsored by the AU5 and In the DAW sound design course called the School of Bass. If you want to learn more about that, we're going to talk about that later on in the episode. But DAW Nation, let's get into this episode right now. How did the song start in the very beginning? Not necessarily how you came up with the idea, but like what was the first things you started with when creating the song? Like sound design or melody or
definitely the drop.
Well, how it happened was also pretty funny too. I was taking a shower. I don't know. I was thinking of like different songs like Choppas by like Getter and Space Aces. And I was just like, okay, it's just so interesting how like things are so repetitive, but like it's that much harder because like it's the same beat again and again. Like Choppas, it's just like dun what, like it just keeps going. And in Ultima, it's pretty much the same thing, just like a little bit more melodic because of the square. So I jumped out of the shower, I grabbed my laptop, and I made like a really early concept, and that's kind of how.
Were you dressed?
This happens all the time.
It happens. This is where inspiration. You don't know when inspiration hits you.
You gotta jump on it.
You're just dripping on that chair.
Take the moment, and it doesn't matter anything else. You need to get the idea down on paper. Exactly. That's kind of what I did by jumping out of the shower, because I would have lost it.
So you're saying it's a little bit more melodic because of the square. Can you explain that a little bit more?
The square has a tone to it. It is the same note, so. But then the last note changes. I don't really have the MIDI open. It does shift. You can see this a lot more in action on the third drop, where we combine it with some supersaws. It's still quite monotonous on the first one, but it does have a nice tone to it. To be honest, a lot of the artifacts and a lot of the tonality is because of just like random distortion. And then
what makes it unique is obviously the artifacts.
Yeah, the artifacts. So you can hear all this white. It's a little laggy, but you can tell that it's been like heavily compressed in OTT and just distorted beyond belief. There are like different like complementing notes under it, and that's all thanks to how like the resonance of like the filter under distortion. So it wasn't intentional, but it gave like a nice melodic touch to it.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but so in the drop, on the downbeat, the sound is playing the root note probably, and then the saw, which is kind of playing the response part, is then playing the melody over time. Is that what you're saying?
In a sense.
The square.
So yeah, we have like this sawtooth bass, no chord in any sense. We also layered it with a brass. This is the root note, which I believe is D, and the square wave. I really wish I had the MIDI. I just froze this. It's been a little bit, but. There's a lot going on.
EQ-3 is like non-passive when you put a bunch of them on, where you just slap a load of EQ-3s on and it gives it like this sort of wet character.
That's actually a really cool thing we can show you. So I'm going to grab just a random kick sample.
So you're saying you grab the EQ-3, but you don't do anything to it, but just having them on the chain.
Exactly. Yeah. Just a regular EQ-3.
3 to 5.
You can see the effect after like 1 or 2. But for the most part, the way the EQ-3 is made, I haven't really looked into it too much, but the EQ-3 has 3 knobs as opposed to like the parametric EQ, like the regular EQ8 or like a fab filter where it's like a visual EQ. So rudimentary. And because it's so rudimentary and because you only have 3 knobs, I guess there's like a slight notch between where they start dividing the low, the mid, and the high, because you have the option. Okay, I have a kick right here. A regular kick sample.
This is blowing my mind already.
But here, regular kick sample, right? As I mentioned, the EQ-3 only has 3 knobs, and also the other 2 remaining knobs, I believe there are 2 remaining. Yeah, the frequency low, frequency high. You kind of decide where like the low ends and the mid starts, as opposed to where the mid ends and the high starts. Right off the bat, it's at 250 hertz. So I don't really think you can hear it. So I'm going to try to duplicate this a couple of times so you can actually hear the full effect. What I've gathered from just hearing it, it's like a combination of just like there might be a slight notch where each of these start and end, in addition to just resonance. So here's without any EQ3s. Here's with 4 EQ3s. You hear that?
And honestly, like it just starts like comb filtering, right? Because you're starting to notch things out and replace things and move stuff around, right?
It rounds out because I'm not gonna say there are peaks, but there is like a little bit of resonance happening around the 250 and around the. So yeah, again, and here are just like 8. You really hear it. With that, we always put like at least like 3 EQ3s in all our basses.
That's kind of
in our growls, just so you can hear each. When you are able to, it's good in lower sounds because when you are able to hear like each individual waveform, just like pass through, and like you hear like low frequencies, obviously, or lower notes, you can hear like each like tuk 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 tuk. In a sense, you can hear every instance of lower frequency.
I think that's also part of kind of like how some of our bass sounds have become sort of Pixel Terror signature in a way. Is
it makes it sound wet.
We put a lot of EQ3s and a lot of phase on everything.
There's this trick that I learned from Mr. Bill. We talk about it in our AU5 sound design course, but have you ever seen his time-based glitch effects? So basically, this is crazy. We don't have to do this right now, but I just gotta tell you about it. So basically what it is you grab 5 utilities and you max them out, right? So they're plus 36 all the way through. Right? And then you put a limiter on the end, obviously, before the 5 utilities. You put a distortion on it. So like you can do saturation, you could do overdrive, you do whatever you want. Something that distorts it. And then you put a time-based effect in between those two. So in between the distortion effect and in between the other thing. And when you put a time-based effect on it, like a reverb or a delay or whatever, it kind of sounds like a reverb explosion, but then it like and then it like hardcore glitches into itself. It's the craziest thing. It's like
an artifact kind of thing.
Taking advantage of the artifacts. No, it's just manipulating like things.
That's what we do.
To a degree.
That's what we do. That's what we do a lot.
That's how we resample a lot of things.
Yeah, we sort of started on this more Kismet collab. That's kind of how I did that little. It was just like all effects basically.
Like the end of an OTT of a bass is just like the squeaky. Like you can't really.
You can make a sample pack just
resampling it and just
purely
messing with what you get is just really fun.
The vocal in this song is super intriguing. It sounds like it's either sped up or pitched up, maybe both. Talk to me about like how you recorded that and how you processed the vocal.
Well, we actually did not record. This is a splice vocal. We did do some. Well, we love splice for a lot of our tunes recently,
particularly the Monstercat releases. We have another one coming up. Yeah, Maxima drops. We got some nice vocals for that. Mm-hmm. It's kind of thrilling to like hunt on splice to find the right things.
So here are the original vocals, just straight from splice.
You've got me saying words in my head, filling my mind with these images. Yeah. And it's the way that you look at me makes me feel like I can't breathe. It ain't right, it ain't right, it ain't right. Oh no.
So you know the lyrics of the original one, so.
You've got me saying words in my head, filling my mind with these images, yeah. And it's the way that you look at me.
Pitched up, sped up, melodyne. We treat them like they are real recorded vocals. So of course, we got them dry. There's obviously some tuning in the original one, but we wanted to just make it like a lot more correct and a lot more overly auto-tuned in a sense, because everyone likes a lot of auto-tune and with EDM and electronic dance music, so it's natural for it to be not natural. So all we have on that is NS1, just killing some of the noise in the background. We have 2 auto tunes, one that's a little softer, one at 17% retune, and then one at 24. So smudge of both. So it kind of like one corrects it and then one kind of corrects it once more. It's good because auto-tune can get a little phasey whenever like it's in between 2 notes. So this kind of like ensures that like one is like working and then one's working a little bit more.
This is normal too. I mean, like reverb, for example, like many times we'll have
if you put
a couple reverbs acting as different sort of, one can be super minimal just to give it a little bit of room. Yeah. And then, we'll be using another one for like its actual effect. Just for people out there that are new, like there's a lot of times
2 of like a little bit of minimal effect is better than 1 like large effect, just so you can get everything to fit or achieve a desired sound. So then we have an EQ, hit it with some OTT as well, more EQing. Just you could see a lot of these EQs are kind of the same, mostly around like 3K, 6K. Those are like more of the harsher frequencies when it comes to vocals, like the nasally. De-Esser, just so you can kill the S's a little bit more. We're using the waves.
I thought Waves has ones called sibilants too.
They did. It's kind of like it's like a baby de-esser.
So I'm a de-esser like junkie. I've been like, I'm looking for, there's like the Renaissance de-esser, there's this de-esser, there's the Pro DS. Sometimes I just put in Nectar EQ-3 and I mute everything and just use the de-esser. There's a lot of different de-essers, a lot of different algorithms, and sometimes I find like the best vocals are the vocals with good de-essing. Probably think I'm crazy, but there is an art to de-essing.
I just got the the Slate Digital plugins, and I'm excited to try their de-esser.
Yeah, Slate Digital is really good. But like I've read articles where some people use like 3 different de-essers on 3 different bands.
Like overall, what de-esser do you feel like is the best? Tried and true, bang for your buck.
So also what's a good thing is that when you have a de-esser, you can boost the highs. I think that a combination of the regular waves de-esser, in addition to the Fab Filter Pro DS, is really good. I know it's weird, but if you can use the Pro Q3, get on the frequencies you don't like, maybe 5K, 3K, and 6K, and then just have it work as a dynamic EQ.
Which song was that you actually like manually de-essed with the?
Oh yeah, we had a friend record vocals one time, and I just like his S's were just like really shh. So I would just automated the EQ. Yeah. It worked. And sometimes when you vocal composite, you take different S's from different takes because they sound better. It's just there's a lot to it. Following that de-esser, vocal synth is disabled. I didn't use sends for this one. I used a rack and I did a reverb, like a wet reverb, which we used Torverb really good. I use that because I saw Zalent use it, and it hasn't done me wrong yet.
I really was impressed with your reverb, like across the song on the leads, on like sounds. But talk to me about like your reverb. Like, what's your go-to reverbs and
Torverb. We use a preset called Mutiny on Bounty, and it's like a really nice, luscious reverb. But then when it comes to like maybe if we want like a little shorter reverb, that adds excitement. Like I don't know if we necessarily use it in the song, but sometimes with like higher leads, like really high sawtooths, we use like a reverb to distort the reverb, but we want to have control over it. We use like the regular stock Ableton reverb. But when it comes to like important things like vocals or like pads or plucks, like we want to usually we trust Torverb because
very natural.
It just hasn't done us wrong yet. And it's really natural. And then for delay, we don't use H delay. We use the regular ping pong delay.
This is a question that we get asked all the time, and I've heard of myriad of different answers. So like we all know when we put a reverb on something and then the reverb just like sounds great within the first 5 seconds, but then after a while it just gets so muddy and so clunky, and it's just like there's just too much. How do you solve that?
Ableton's reverb is just like the diffusion is like so 0 to 100. That's why Torverb is like nice, because it's just like right.
So in addition to that, more recent years when we make our songs, we really want control on everything. So if you look at our projects, if you look at the basses, we have this thing. It's basically like a utility, but it's called chain volume. Like we made a little preset.
Basically, it's the utility, but it's the macros set to 0 and negative infinity, so that you can just the ease of drawing it in is just like
if you want to it's like a mute essentially. We route it to the chain of the actual. We do that so things don't bleed through to the next sound. And with like all the processing we're doing on our leads,
anything that you're hearing is like being turned on and then turned
down
off.
Yeah, we want total control.
And this is also something for anybody who might be new out there too. Like nothing is ever automated from the mixer. Like don't mix. Yeah, don't automate your.
We tried to put 2-chain volume utility before. Yeah, because
use utility to automate any kind of volumes.
It's better for the end process, because if you want to like adjust volumes, you can't do it if you already. It's going to be a mess. So with the reverb, we believe in just having control. So if like it's necessary to use like a utility just to take down the reverb at the end, just to control it, or like if there are artifacts that we don't like, we just cut it out, muting and unmuting.
Like if you were to turn on the automation for the entire project, you would just see everything kind of like
a lot of these are really frozen. All these are frozen. But if you were to see this, you'd see like the chain volume, just like whenever the MIDI would be on the screen, the volume would go up, and then once it's done with, it would go down, just to avoid any artifacts leaking out to the next sound.
Let's talk about sound design. I'm a sound design kind of guy. Let's talk about the sound design that's going on in your drop. I know you got a lot going on in your drop, but let's talk about it.
Sound design is just a combination of using Serum and creating the actual sounds, or taking like already pre-existing sounds and like a lot of processing, whether it be like using frequency shifter or even using the EQ in a sense to make a growl from a bass, like a regular just static bass.
Hearing something in Serum and then understanding how you're going to post-process it is a huge part, because like you might know that it sounds like crap in Serum, but knowing how you can process like low frequency basses that you can turn into like a lot of these mid-tempo sounds that are like super high res and all
like
that
distortion
shit.
Or erosion,
or
redux.
It makes it really interesting, especially in the the transfer process between the source and like the processing.
If you want to take sound design to the next level, or create those gnarly sounds, Serum's just the start, and then the post processing.
The post processing is quite important. Thing is you shouldn't expect the sound coming straight out of Serum to be like the best sound.
That's really, really good advice. I think. I feel like everyone's like, let me learn how to use Serum, but there's so many.
It is for sure more than half the battle, I would say.
You could do. There's so many things on Serum, but
because honestly, like they have like Serum Effects, which has basically everything you'd ever need, but it's not like they're not all perfect, right? And so the only thing I use Serum Effects for like really ever is their like distortion and that's basically it. I think that's really, really good advice to maybe step outside of Serum once you have a base plate and kind of go from there.
Yeah, exactly. The sky is the limit, and Serum is a great starting point for a lot of sounds, but you need to be able to like take your ideas and maybe you can't do automation the same way.
Yeah,
you can't like do you can use envelopes, and you can.
I mean, you can do a lot.
With
samples. I mean, once you kind of get the ins and outs of Serum, you can create vastly original sounds, and I think that's the appeal is from nothing you're creating something, and that's why people use it, because even if you take a sample, you're still coming from sort of somewhere.
Let's talk about specific sounds that you created inside of the drop. Like for example, on the downbeat of the drop, how did you make that sound?
We could show you guys the original. We had a different drop for the second drop, but then it might have been a little bit too complicated. Monstercat's like, oh, it's cool, but can you guys rearrange a little bit? So we just completely scrapped it. I mean, similar, but
VIP.
Very similar, but they didn't like it too much, and they told us to like change it around. You could hear a lot of the same sounds, but
what he's just asking, kind of like the basic process of what the growl on the one.
Is there a growl? No, I think it's just the bass. So yeah, it's a love bass. Nothing. It's not too different. You can see a lot of the processing though. We did a lot. I didn't even know we did this much. But for the most part, what it is just trying to get the middle to come out a lot more than it was. You can see that this isn't very orthodox way to mixing. You shouldn't mix like this. Things should sound good from the get-go, but I handle a lot of the mixing, so while I was alone, I would always try new things, and like I spent hours just trying to get this to fit, and I don't know, somehow it did, but like really, in a really unorthodox way. This is actually a Max Super Saw chord shot. We use the same exact one for our song "Game Over."
I don't think we've ever had anyone on the show that hasn't used at least one.
No, we love that. We don't like use it for our main sounds. We use it for more of the.
It's a pretty basic chord shot with automation. It's
very vibrato-y. We use this one in "Game Over," and that's the only reason I used it, because we used it such a long time ago. And we like using paying like a little. You can't necessarily hear it, but we like paying homage to some of our old songs. Max Brass. Hey sample from Cashmere, and I believe that's it. That should be it. So that's the first hit. It's a bunch of different things. You can't really hear. Once you hear them individually, like you hear them at the same time. But I think the one that takes the main focus is the chord shot. But then all the elements that are a lot more important, a lot more unique are all our sound design. As you can see, they're all very frozen, and there's no remnants of the Serum.
One thing that's really impressed me about your guys' music is your drums are very, very well processed. The only other song that I've heard that's just been close as Pegboard Nerds is drums. They're just really, really good with the punchiness of the kick and the snare. So talk to me about how you got your drums to be the way they are, and your kick and snare. Talk to me about that.
We made all these kicks and snares from Kick 2, and then also combining old kicks. Kick 2 is great. The snare is Serum. You can't. So I can show. I make a bunch of these kinds of stuff just so for us to use. The snare is this awesome snare I made a while back. It's a nice snare, and then the kick is just this regular clicky kick. We like clicky kicks. They're nice. There's a lot to it. The really important part about a kick and a snare is the thump, because that's the main characteristic of it.
So when you're using Kick 2, how do you build out your kick from there? Do you go into the presets, or do you just start with the bass?
When we go into Kick 2, I really wish I could open these things, but OBS is really slow. What we do is we adjust the pitch. I do compare it to other kicks while I'm doing it, and it's A/B reference, but a lot of it is just getting the punch right, and then some saturation, EQing. Transients are very important in order to get these to cut through. I think that when you ask how do we get our drums so clean, it's a combination of transient, like getting the transients through like a plugin like Transient Master or Transient Shaper by Kilohertz. Very good. But it's not only that, it's also the sidechain. And on this song and songs alike, I believe we have we have this sidechain, and you can see right here that it doesn't immediately just dip down. It's like a little gradual of a dip. And then you can see on the delay section that the sidechain starts
so we delay the channel so that the sidechain hits like right before the actual.
So it has a time to go down, and then the transient comes up. And that gives it room for the transient to breathe and not overlap. So we literally have like a side chain that happens 9 milliseconds before the actual kick starts. Just getting the transients in, using your own drum samples, or at least processing them to the best of your abilities. You could have a lot more control. And you can trust it. We use the snare very often.
But within the last year, what has been like the most mind-blowing, and I want an answer from both of you, what has been the most mind-blowing sound design technique that you guys have learned?
It really resonates with post-processing because I've learned so much. Like, he's a lot better with Serum. I'm very, very good with manipulating samples and stuff, but
it's just so important.
It's really just kind of finding chains that you're familiar with, like finding like the right areas of phasers and erosion, and then just like, sometimes saving them and throwing them on like crazy random things that you just create like the most unique, and then resample it and kind of do the same thing. And I guess outside of Serum, that has been a huge thing for me. One of the most mind-blowing things was that, what was it that you can put in the noise oscillator of Serum?
Oh, that was actually 85 trick.
Oh, okay.
Where he put a sine wave in the noise oscillator, and then I don't know exactly what it was called, but the fact that it does
the phase mod, yeah,
that was really cool. But we don't use that.
We should start
experimenting.
That was pretty mind-blowing though. Also, did you guys see the new filters on the Serum update?
No, are you serious?
There's new filters. Yeah, they added the massive scream filter, and they also added this low pass comb filter. It's a combination of two filters. I didn't see it, but I used it. There's so many things to this question. Does it have to be only sound design, or can it be like mixing and mastering or something?
You know, it can be mixing and mastering. I will allow this.
Okay.
This is okay.
Thank you. I used to have so much trouble comparing our songs to like Zomboy. Never compare our songs to Zomboy, first of all.
I was going to touch on this. I was going to touch on this a little bit too, just in terms of like, I guess something healthy for everyone to learn is like, definitely have a reference track.
Oh yeah,
pretty much always.
So kind of compare yourself to Zomboy, but don't kill yourself if it doesn't sound as loud as Zomboy. So I'm trying to tell you.
No, yeah, definitely not. But I mean, in terms of like getting your mix like to where you want it to sound, the best way to do it is just to compare as closely as possible. You know, like EQ, find out where the sub is of a song that you like,
how loud the sub is, how it's sidechain. That's a lot. That's our sound design, and a lot of our like ideas come from just analyzing the bare bones of like the low end, or just like a separation between this and that. But for mix and mastering, a really important thing that helped me like figure out how to get our song sounding loud, how we don't spend a lot of time as much as we used to. Stereo width is really important. And if a sound doesn't sound loud enough, there's a lot of room in the side spectrum and to like boost them up. So just like in general, if a sound doesn't necessarily sound too loud, if you want to make it pop out more, just put it in the stereo spectrum. And then also like, you don't want everything in the stereo spectrum, you don't want everything in the mono spectrum. There's obviously like select things need to be in both. A good thing was just like boosting our side signal, and like with the new Pro Q3 we can compress our side signal. It's just a lot, just getting things louder is just brightening up your sides and just boosting up your sides. So that's something that like helped us just like stop pausing our songs just to figure it out. It was just it's a breakthrough.
Very first off, I want to talk on the sound design thing and like the post-processing thing. So I mentioned the 85 sound design course, and that's what it is. It is literally all about post-processing, especially with only Ableton devices. That's it. It's only Ableton devices and showing like the pure power of it. And so like there's certain things in there where we have 50 simple delays after a song, or we have a multi-band vocoder vocoding a multi-band vocoder. Like it's insane, right? Stupid deep, you know what I mean? So as far as post-processing, yes. If you guys who are watching this right now are not post-processing, holy crap, you're missing out on an entire world of sounds.
Yeah, we've made like growls from cowbells before.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like that kind of stuff. Freaking amazing. Second thing I want to talk about was you're talking about the reference track. There is an amazing Max for Live device, and it does something similar to like what Ozone used to or still does, where it's like you can see the curve, the EQ curve of everything, but you can have 3 different references in there, right? So you can have everything in there, and it all matches it together, and it's free. It's freaking free. It's so good. I can't remember what it's called.
But your mix has to be good before you do that.
That's true. It does. But when you get there, it's a great tool, right? What was the third thing? Stereo. Again, talking about the 85 course, mid mid-side OTT. You ever heard that before?
I want to. It's a thing.
It's included within that course I'll send over to you. We include all the racks and everything. But AU5 came up with it. Like, it's so simple. I don't know why anyone hasn't done it yet. Oh my gosh. Like, company was freaking mind blown over that. Monstercat was as well. So mid-side OTT, guys.
I'm with it.
I mean, it's that important. You know what I mean? Like,
that's all I got for you. But guys, did you have a good time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, DAW Nation. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of In the DAW with Pixel Terror, breaking down their song Ultima. If you found anything in this episode that was helpful to you, take a screenshot right now and tag me on Instagram stories at In the DAW, Behind the DAW, and tell me what concept really helped you out this week. Also, if you like this episode, not only should you like, comment, and subscribe, but you should also check out the AU5, Tynan, Trivecta, and Mode Step episodes of In the DAW. I would also encourage you to check out our Behind the DAW episodes. They focus more on the emotional, philosophical, artistic, and business side of music. Make sure to check out the episodes with KJ Saka, Dodge and Fusky, Rogue, Echoes, and Cares episode. You can listen to the podcast anywhere on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, Deezer, wherever you're at, it doesn't matter. And if you would like to take your sound design skills to a whole new level, then make sure to check out AU5 and In the DAW's course, The School of Bass. It has over 20 hours of videos showing extremely unique and advanced sound design techniques that AU5 and I have gathered over the last 15 years. It also includes a ridiculously huge amount of effects racks, instrument racks, and project files. We also included a bunch of bonuses, some of which include MIDI arrangement templates of over 70 of AU5's songs so that you can see how he arranged his most famous songs. We also include a sound design journal template that we have loaded with over 45 different techniques. You get access to the private DAW Nation Facebook group and a personal 20-minute coaching call with me where you can ask me absolutely anything. We originally priced the course at $497, but ultimately decided to go the subscription route and only charge $47 a month to access all of our content. There's no long-term commitment. You can cancel anytime. You can be a part of the School of Bass for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, a year, however long you need, however long you want. It's completely in your control. And when you're done, you're done. That's it. There's no questions asked. However, we are going to keep updating the course every month with more and more content. But if you're not much of a subscription guy, that's totally cool. We also offer the lifetime access plan, which is where you pay $247 once and have lifetime access to all of our current content and all of our future content for the School of Bass. So if all of this sounds amazingly interesting to you, head on over to courses.inthedaw.net. That is courses.inthedaw.net. And if you're still on the fence about all this, no worries. You can take our free version of the School of Bass. There's a link below for this, or you can again go to courses.inthedaw.net and you can find it there as well. But DAW Nation, I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of In the DAW. And if you did, again, let me know either in the comments or by tagging me in an Instagram story at In the DAW Behind the DAW. But DAW Nation, I hope you have a great day and we'll see you on next week's episode.